Michael Jordan was one of the greatest, if not the greatest basketball players of all time, winning 6 NBA titles and playing for nearly 20 seasons. It's an impressive career to say the least, but what makes a given player one of the greatest players of all time? The answer to this lies in this little known book.
Michael Jordan running on fumes with 45 points. You gotta get it out of his hand. He's a killer.
The Last Dance was one of the most successful docuseries over the last few years. It traces the powerful rise of the Chicago Bulls in the 1990s, and of course, the powerful rise of Michael Jordan. But there's one thing that the series forgets to mention, and that's the question of what really drives Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan was not driven by any kind of rewards, title trophies, or monetary achievements. These were just elements, results, and circumstances of a much bigger picture. As he states in the book, I wanted to prove what I could do. When my play started providing me with the rewards, then I wanted to prove I deserved them. I never felt the desire to rest on what I had accomplished. I never felt like I deserved to drive a Bentley when I got my first contract or live in a mansion. Those things might be symbols of success to some people, but there are a lot of people who confuse symbols with actual success. In other words, Jordan wanted to prove to himself and others what was possible. In a way, he was competing with himself. And he was motivated to show others what he was capable of doing. Which brings us on to part 2. Michael Jordan always seeks motivation. Now, you might be thinking motivation is kind of the same as drive. Well, there's a very important difference. Drive keeps you going, while motivation does the opposite. Or put another way, drive sustains motivation. And this is not to say motivation doesn't matter. In fact, some of the greatest works resulted from an initial impulse or a creative burst of motivation. The problem is motivation doesn't sustain itself. It gives you quick energy and focus, but it does not overcome long-term obstacles. Drive, on the other hand, is more related to life itself. In biological terms, it's closer to a deep-set need, like a need for survival or a need to continue the species. And drive, like the title of the book suggests, is believed to originate within a person, and it does not require external stimulation. And Jordan has both drive and motivation in abundance, and he taps right into that motivation daily, but it's always fueled from his own personal drive. As he states in the book, I would wake up in the morning thinking, okay, how am I going to attack today? I never knew what my motivation would be until sometime during the day. I had to search out and find reasons to play every game at a high level. In essence, Jordan was constantly seeking out ways to motivate himself, and underlying these motivational tactics was his drive to impress and entertain. As he continues in the book, it was so easy for me to find ways to motivate myself. It didn't matter whether it was the 7th game of a playoff series or the 60th game of another season. I know it's easy to be analytical after the fact and come up with all these wild theories, but my driving force, my passion, was to impress people with what I could do. That got me through those dog days. It was the idea somebody might be sitting there who had never seen Michael Jordan play. I thought about that person who had never experienced the excitement or entertainment I could provide. That would be the thought that drove me to play that game. So where does this leave us? Well, so far we've discovered that Jordan's drive is 1, his need to show capability, and 2, to seek out motivation to impress others. But there's one more key ingredient to Michael Jordan's drive, and with that said, let's jump straight into part 3. You don't achieve great things without long-lasting proof. Showing and impressing is simply not enough because, let's be honest, aren't we all capable of impressing others to some degree? So what then really drove Michael Jordan? In summary, Jordan was driven by a combination of things. His upbringing, his siblings, his need to compete, but he also needed to constantly prove and consolidate his position. In fact, he was almost scientific in his approach to work. So if I could sum it up, Michael Jordan's principal drive was to prove capability. In fact, at the beginning of the book he states, it all started with an appetite to prove. Whether it was competing with my siblings or trying to get attention from my parents, I wanted to show what I could do, what I was capable of accomplishing. I wanted results and I was driven to find out the best way to get them. As to why he had this particular drive, well, that's something completely unique to his own experience and probably a story for another day. But hopefully, in the meantime, it's something we can all learn a little from. To know your drive, to know your why, and to know yourself. Thanks for watching, and I hope you enjoyed this content. Stay tuned for more stories in the coming weeks, and if you're feeling brave enough, please share in the comments below what your drive is. And with that said, I'm heading over there to do exactly that.